Just a simple reminder here, Tide fans, we here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine have a live game day chat where you can talk to all of your favorite staff members for TDA and chat amongst yourselves. Now that means you can talk to John Ivory, myself, Stephen M. Smith, Justin Smith, Patrick Dow, all staff members of TDA, but you can also chat amongst yourself as we're giving you a new sort of game day feel to put you in the mindset of the Crimson Tide on the field while your favorite team is out there getting those victories. You can check out that link right now in the description. That's the Touchdown Alabama Magazine live game day chat. Check it out. Fresh off a Thanksgiving meal, you know what comes next, ladies and gentlemen. That is the football. We have returned with another game day preview, Touchdown Alabama Magazine, as the Alabama Crimson Tide will take on the Auburn Tigers this weekend in the 85th edition of the Iron Bowl. 2:30 p.m. Central Time kickoffs on Saturday. CBS will have the call on the matchup. I'm yours truly, Stephen M. Smith.
And I'm Patrick Dowd. But Stephen, before we get into the Iron Bowl, Steve Sarkisian is going to be stepping in for Nick Saban because he's out with COVID once again.
Steve Sarkisian getting the call for this matchup. Coach Saban, of course, the first time this came up in the week of the Georgia game was a false positive. Coach Saban was able to coach that matchup against the Bulldogs. This time around, not the same situation. The announcement came from the University of Alabama. Coach Saban is experiencing mild COVID symptoms. Now, according to him, he's not going to let you know that. He's going to tell you just a runny nose, just a slight headache. But coming from the university, mild COVID symptoms. The program taking these precautions. Nick Saban is at home, isolated in quarantine, but will not coach this Iron Bowl. As you mentioned, Steve Sarkisian, the offensive coordinator, gets the nod to lead the Crimson Tide onto the field for the 85th Iron Bowl at Bryant-Denny. This is his audition to show at some point he can be a head coach again, maybe be on that short list of coaches to take over for Nick Saban once he calls it a career.
Yeah, and his body of work this year at an offensive corner is already impressive enough. Now he's going to have an opportunity to show what he can do from the head coaching spot. Again, it's a situation just like with Slade Bolden stepping for Jalen Waddle. He wished it was under different circumstances. But, of course, Nick Saban said he was feeling okay with COVID. But, it's almost as if that it's another sense of comfort because, Alabama already went through this scare early in the year with Saban and his false positive. But now they kind of know, the team and the players kind of know how to go through the motions a bit with Steve Sarkisian at the helm. They know how he deals with the team in practice and whatnot. And I think it's almost they're going to benefit from having that scare earlier in the year.
Also, along with that, Pat, I feel like this team kind of takes on that Michael Jordan Last Dance demeanor with when Doug Collins was coaching Jordan and Collins was nervous. MJ goes over, Coach, wipe that stuff off your mouth. Stop sweating. We're not going to let you lose your first game. So I feel like these players definitely rallied around Steve Sarkisian. One player in particular is Mac Jones. Last year in this game, it was his first time in the Iron Bowl as the starter. It was his introduction into what this game is, what this rivalry means, and what it entails. And he played strongly. Had 335 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. He did have the 2 costly mistakes. Alabama lost the game. But this time around, that experience from last year benefits him as he looks to have a different outcome this time.
Yeah, and kind of like Sarkisian, Mac Jones was thrust into the fire too last year. One of his first couple starts is a big game in the Iron Bowl, which if they win, they may have a shot at going to the college football playoff.
Absolutely.
And it's just helpful experience to know that you already have a quarterback that's been through this, just knows what the rivalry is like and can play in this kind of atmosphere. And I think Mac Jones is ready to have a bounce back game against Auburn. Just look at what he's done throughout the whole year. He's a completely different player from last year. Gus Malzahn mentioned it in his press conference. He's not the same quarterback they faced last year. And the whole country knows he's a completely different player. He's much improved.
Much improved and getting ready to, as he continues to push toward an opportunity to even win that Heisman Trophy. He's in a battle with Kyle Trask of Florida as of right now. But getting back to the Iron Bowl conversation, this game is about physicality. I don't care what you say. It is a physical, hard-nosed, smash-mouth football game. And what better group to be a smash mouth group than this Alabama offensive line. Everybody's talked about this unit all season, how well it's played in run blocking and pass protection and being a part of one of the more balanced, explosive groups in college football. But this group starts with Landon Dickerson at center. Alabama loves recruiting the freshman offensive linemen per each class, but it's been very fortunate getting some great graduate transfers. Landon Dickerson, one of those guys, when he puts on those pads, he's mean, he's nasty, he's physical, he gets after you, he's in your face. Deontay Brown talked about it this week. The young man Dickerson, an absolute mauler, but the intellect also to get Alabama's offensive front and the right calls and the right sets. Offensive line pad, going to be an angry group this weekend.
Yeah, and the great thing about Landon Dickerson is that he'll be the first one to tell you this group still has stuff to improve on. I mean, they were gashing teams earlier in the year, and he goes, "Yeah, we still got to focus in on other stuff,
I still don't like
technique.
the run game just yet."
Yeah, I don't like it just yet. 200 yards, we want 300. That's a great mentality to have. And even Najee Harris loves running behind these guys. He said it spells bad news for whoever's on the other receiving end of Deontay Brown's pull. I mean, they got some big physical guys up front. They're going to need it against Auburn's front, led by Kevin Steele as the defensive coordinator. They're always coming in. They're always going to be physical. And it comes down every year, battle in the trenches. Who's going to come out on top?
Who's going to be more physical? Who's going to be the lower man that battle there in the trenches? But, Pat, defensively, here's the game right here. This is where Nick Saban is known for being on the field, kind of the overarching theme of the Alabama defense. Coach Saban not out there. It's going to be Pete Golding with Charles Kelly out there trying to run this defensive front. Everybody in national media has been talking about, here's the game where we see if Bama's improved or not. It's been great since the Ole Miss matchup. It's been very much so improved, but people are marking this game. Here's the test to see if Bama's that much improved for real. Bama's got to be able to strap up and go to work against a good Auburn offense.
Yeah, and this rivalry is always a test for everybody. And for Pete Golding, you don't have Nick Saban on the sideline anymore in your ear. I mean, it's his chance to show everyone what he's got, show what kind of real improvement they've made. Everyone knows, just looking at the stat sheets, just how they've been playing the last couple weeks, they've been doing better. But against a team like Auburn, you've got to show up. It's a statement game. If you can hold Auburn's offense to a small amount of points, small amount of yards, I mean, it's going to be really impressive and can go a long way with people having confidence in it.
If Alabama can hold Auburn under 20 points, that's kind of the barometer I'm showing.
Nick Saban was saying, teams if you hold teams to 17 points nowadays, that's a good job.
If Alabama can hold Auburn under 20 points, force some turnovers, it'll really get people thinking maybe Pete Golding's not as bad as we thought he was going in. I know earlier it was some issues, but maybe he's not as bad. But as we jump into now this Alabama-Auburn matchup, Pat, you've been looking at Auburn's offense this entire time and what Gus Malzahn wants to bring to the table. This Auburn offense, it's got some creativity to it.
I mean, it's always going to have creativity with Gus Malzahn. I mean, the trick plays, any sort of funny RPOs. Now, Nick Saban will complain all live long day about linemen blocking downfield, but that's just the reality of college football. And it all starts with Bo Nix. How is he going to play? From this season at least, he's a completely different player on the road. On the season, he's thrown 10 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. 4 of them have come on the road. And, going into Bryant-Denny Stadium, Auburn hasn't had a lot of success against Alabama when they travel to Tuscaloosa. But much like last year, they're going to have Bo Nix be efficient when they need it. He completed 50% of his passes last year, but he completed some timely throws to move the chains. Well, he really hurt Alabama with his feet as well, extending plays. And they're going to have to win the battle up front in the run game too with Tank Bigsby, and try to get the ball to Seth Williams when they can. I mean, they're going to have to. They're going to have to really put together a full performance, much like last year.
Now, when you look at Auburn defensively, Kevin Steele, who was once at Alabama at one point in time, has done a fantastic job with that unit. Since 2016, he's given up under 20 points a game on average for the season. Now, this year, Auburn's given up 22 points per game, but they come in with a solid group right here. Zacoby McClain is the leading tackler, 68 stops on the season, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. Their sack specialist is a freshman. Colby Wooden is actually having an incredible year thus far. 8.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 3 quarterback hurries. They've got guys like Big Cat Bryant. They've got Tyrone Truesdale. They got T.D. Moultrie. This is a very veteran, experienced, big-time front here. But the surprise has actually been the defensive backfield. 7 picks in the season for Auburn. They're led by Roger McCreary, who's got 2 interceptions, 3 pass breakups, and a young man by the name of Smoke Monday. Probably one of the more cooler names out there. Smoke Monday doing his thing on the season. Also Christian Tuitt in that defensive backfield as well. So these are 2 coaching staffs that know each other. Alabama knows what the likes of Kevin Steele want to do in terms of blitzing, playing man, playing zone coverage. For Auburn, it comes down to, can it frustrate Mac Jones and keep him in that state of frustration? We saw at times this season where Mac would get a little frustrated, but he would be able to bounce back from that. Can Auburn get him frustrated, hold him there, create some turnovers, get some breaks, get some fortunate big breaks here? If Auburn's defense can come out here, stop the run, create some turnovers, get some pressure, and get some balls to bounce its way, could be really interesting here in this matchup.
And like you said with the turnovers, Mac Jones threw 2 interceptions last year. Both went for touchdowns. So they spotted them 14 points last year. Auburn needs to do the same if they want to have a chance in this game this year.
Got to create some turnovers if you have a Tigers. But, Pat, we look at the line on this game now. With Saban coaching the game, the line was already pretty interesting. Now that we know that Coach Saban will not be on the sideline, what is this line looking like now?
Well, it's at minus 24.5. And I mean, that was large. I thought that was large for the start, and especially considering Auburn's gotten lucky in a couple games this year. So I'll be honest, but it's still Auburn, it's still the Iron Bowl, and with no Nick Saban, and the fact that it's a heated rivalry, I don't think Alabama is going to cover this. I think it's going to be it's going to be a hard-fought game, more so than people think. And, I just don't see them covering this one.
I would not put a line on this game. It's a rivalry game. You never know what could happen. I believe Alabama wins this. They're going to do it for Sark. They're going to play for Coach Saban.
So do I.
But I would not put a line on this game because, as you know, it's the Iron Bowl. Anything and everything
can happen
in this matchup.
And everything can happen.
But I do see the Crimson Tide getting this matchup. But, folks, this weekend, it's Alabama-Auburn on Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Central Time kickoff. CBS will have the call from Bryant-Denny Stadium. College football game day will be in Tuscaloosa as well. But for all of us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine, I'm Stephen M. Smith.
And I'm Patrick Dowd.
And we will see you next week, people.